What is going on, Neon Nation? Welcome back to the Neon Arcade, and today we finally got patch 2.1 notes. Now these are pretty comprehensive, there's a lot to go over here, so I'm just going to dive right into it. But as per usual, CDPR adds extra things into the mix, so these are kind of just the highlights. But I did want to go over the highlights because, like I said, there are a ton of them. If you guys have been paying attention, we're getting the new metro system, we're getting radios, new car chases, so we have some details about that in this blog post, so let's just get into it. So in terms of new features, V's issue with their N-Cart City Pass is now resolved, and they can now travel between the 19 metro stations located throughout Night City on 5 different lines via fast travel or riding the train itself while gazing out of the window and watching the world go by. So yes, this is the new metro system. You'll be able to fast travel at any point on this ride, so if you decide that you want to take the full ride and then 2 minutes in, you just want to get to your destination, you'll be able to fast travel at any point. The metro system is something that people have been asking for what feels like forever. There have been mods for this, but now we have it officially, so this just gives us the closure on that E3 2018 trailer. Okay, moving on, V will now be able to invite their love interest to spend some time together in any of the apartments. Hangouts are a repeatable, unlimited event that become available once the romance path with a given character has concluded. So we did get a little bit of a tease of this one in the latest Twitter video drop. So check it out here. We do have River, Carrie, Judy, Panam, so it does seem to spread across all of the romance encounters. So no one's going to be left out, which is nice. Moving on, you can now listen to the radio while on foot or while riding the N-Cart train using the new radio port feature. Available while you explore, it switches seamlessly to car radio whenever you get into a vehicle and turns off when quest-specific music starts playing. It is now possible to adjust the volume directly in the radio window. Again, really cool feature. The soundtrack of Cyberpunk is pretty fire, so being able to listen to that whenever, wherever is going to be awesome. Next one we have here is added replayable car races V can take part in after finishing the Beast in Me quest. Look for race flag icons on the map and win the races to get eddies and a discount for the AutoFixer website. Additionally, we improved the racers' AI to make them more competitive and made enhancements so that the whole experience is much more fun. So yeah, not a huge issue, but the races were kind of easy, doesn't even matter what difficulty you were on. So maybe if you have to use your healer a little bit more, or the enemy cars are going to be a little bit faster, then that's going to make the experience a little bit harder. And I think that's just something that they've taken in mind for some of the other fixes that we'll get into as well. Now we didn't see this one before during the Red stream when they were talking about update 2.1, but it seems like there will be sightseeing binoculars in various scenic spots as another way to appreciate Night City's vistas. So in terms of quests and open world functionality that's been added, V can now be pursued by gangs after taking an aggressive approach towards them during certain gigs and main quests. Gigs that involve stealing and delivering a vehicle can now turn into a car chase and a combat sequence. Decorative vendors spawned inside some kiosks are now functional. Please note that food stands are not impacted by this change. It is now possible to sit at various bars in Night City and interact with the vendors. This is one that's been requested quite a bit. I think people want a little bit more of those life sim elements, and it does seem like these patch notes are kind of fulfilling that need. Okay, moving on. Fixed an issue where some gigs wouldn't trigger after approaching the quest area. Chippin' In fixed an issue where Rogue would follow V around permanently. The Cyber Psycho sighting House on a Hill. They fixed an issue here where Peter Green's body was still highlighted after scanning. Every Grain of Sand fixed an issue where the reward vehicle for completing all Badlands gigs did not spawn. In Gas Gas Gas, they've fixed an issue where the reward vehicle for completing all city center gigs did not spawn. In the gig Olive Branch, they've fixed an issue where it was not possible to talk to Sergey because he did not spawn. Killing in the Name, they've fixed an issue where it was not possible to progress past the Go to the Signal source objective because a conversation with Johnny did not trigger. We also have Life During Wartime, where an issue was fixed where Panam would not get on a motorcycle when required to follow her to the gas station. Space Oddity, they fixed an issue where the quest did not activate even after updating the game to patch 2.01. And Prophet Song, they fixed an issue where the quest could reappear as undiscovered on the map. In terms of Phantom Liberty specific fixes, they have fixed an issue where enemies in some of the suspected organized crime activities in Dogtown did not spawn, which would block your progress. They've also fixed a smaller issue where in-game time would not pass after watching the brain dance from Lizzie Wizzy's concert. It's required to use the skip time option for the fix to take effect. Arachnophobia and all the President's Men's achievements being not granted to players despite meeting the requirements have been fixed. The Relic Ruler achievement will no longer unlock after acquiring only one relic perk. and previously exclusive iconic weapons are now obtainable in the game. Alibi, Borzaya, Laika, Tigan, and Volkadov iconic weapons will now be available for purchase from the black market vendor if they were not retrieved from an airdrop. In terms of gigs and quests in Phantom Liberty, Addicted to Chaos has received some fixes where the quest would complete automatically without actually finishing it, and where the garage door would not open after entering the code. In Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos, an issue was fixed where Mr. Hands would not answer when called. From Her to Eternity, an issue has been fixed where it was not possible to place the metal pin on the table in V's apartment. Get It Together, an issue was fixed where it was not possible to enter the Heavy Hearts Club, and High Ho Silver Lining fixed an issue where it was not possible to talk to Mr. Hands in the Heavy Hearts Club because he wasn't interactable or did not spawn. Lucretia, My Reflection has received 2 fixes, one being where the player could be stuck in a permanent holo call with Songbird after leaving the abandoned apartment, and the second one where Reed would not call after waiting 2 days. Somewhat Damaged, the most scarring quest in the game in my opinion, has received a couple of fixes as well, one being an issue that could cause the player to get stuck in a crouching position, making it impossible to connect to the port in the core, and another where sprinting or jumping was permanently disabled after riding the elevator. Things Done Changed. An issue has been fixed here where your screen could go black after calling the nurse for players who still experience this issue on patch 2.02. In terms of gameplay, this is another big fix here, so they've improved the boss fights with Yasha Ivanov, Boris Rybakov, and Adam Smasher. Smasher will now be able to activate Sandvistan. So this is an interesting one. CDPR mentioned that they were going back to the drawing board on some of the boss fights in the main game. That includes Adam Smasher, but it does also look like they've looked at the Phantom Liberty bosses. So Yasha and Boris are receiving fixes as well. So we do also have new cyberware being added to the mix. One is Fiend X and the other is Cogito Lattice. Fiend X is a skeleton cyberware. The cyberware capacity cost is 16. And it gives you a plus 250% RAM regen rate when available RAM is below 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cogito Lattice is an integumentary system cyberware option. The cyberware capacity cost for this one is 12, and this will give you a certain percentage armor increase when your available RAM is below a certain threshold. Some cyberware options have also been rebalanced. This includes a decreased cyberware capacity cost for memory boost, bioconductor, Kerenzikov, Rara Avis, Reflex Tuner, Defenzikov, Cellular Adapter, Handle Wrap, Axolotl, Microgenerator, Peripheral Inverse, Leroy Ligament System, and the Camillo RAM Manager. We've also received some balance changes for some of the perks. I'm just going to put these on screen for you guys. Feel free to pause it before carrying on. So we also do have some balance tweaks for some of the weapons. Now, crafted weapons can now have up to 2 mod slots. They do make a note here that this change won't affect weapons crafted prior to this patch. They've also increased the rate at which mods drop from enemies. They've also increased the availability of mods in weapon vendors stock, and the packs mod will always be available. It will now be possible to properly install tech weapon mods instead of power weapon mods on the HA4 grid. Tier 4 and Tier 5 weapon mods can now be found in weapon vendors stocks. They've increased the max ammo limit you can carry in your inventory for all ammo types. Crafted iconic weapons will now be properly displayed when put in the stash, this is a big one, and cyberware capacity shards should now drop properly for players who have reached the max level. They've also fixed an issue where some Tier 5 plus weapons in cyberware were upgraded to Tier 5 plus again, or to a lower tier. Moving on, it will now also be possible to activate overclock while controlling cameras, and Kerenzikov will now work with throwable weapons. Console and controller players, you're gonna like this one. They've reduced the minimum stick tilt angle required to stay in sprint when playing on a controller. Secondary stats in cyberware changed via the chipware connoisseur perk will no longer have their values randomized after saving or loading. After reaching level 60 in the Netrunner skill, the overclock ability will now properly reveal the enemies within 10 meters and allow you to hack them through the cover. And finally here they have adjusted the Synapse Burnout Quick Hack. They've decreased the max damage bonus from plus 400% to plus 300% for tiers 3 to 5. They've decreased the max damage bonus from 600% to 400% and lowered the bonus per RAM unit from 12% to 10% for the iconic variant. We have some miscellaneous ones here, so after crafting an item with the active Chimera Core or Cerberus decoded behavioral system component, the crafting specs required will disappear from the crafting panel. Players who also completed all of Regina's gigs prior to the update 2.0 will have the Neofiber cyberware they received as a reward replaced with the Axolotl. Stats from ARM cyberware will now be applied correctly regardless if they are drawn or not. CDPR has also fixed an issue where V's HP wouldn't drop below 25% due to the Biodyne Berserk's effect remaining active permanently. So we've already gone through so many changes, but now we have vehicles and traffic. So as mentioned in the update 2.1 red stream, they have opened the previously closed off highway that spans Westbrook, Santo Domingo, and Haywood. It is also now possible to lean while riding bikes. You can use left shift or left control on your keyboard or left stick on the gamepad to make the rider lean. Up to lean forward or down to lean back. Leaning will only change your center of mass, and you can lean back and apply the gas to do a wheelie, or lean forward and apply the brake to do an endo. Changing your center of mass changes how much traction you have at either end. As mentioned previously, they have added 5 new bikes to purchase from the AutoFixer website, and the new car, the Porsche 911 Cabriolet. They've also added an option to mark vehicles as favorites in the call vehicle menu, the option to throw knives and axes while riding bikes, improved melee animations when driving bikes in third person, and attacking an NPC driver will now cause their vehicle to swerve. Okay, now let's get into sound. So they've overhauled sound effects in scenes in the base game's main, side, and minor quests. They've also been authoring and upmixing of scenes to the surround sound format. They've added missing sound effects, fixed missing post-processing for voices, improvements to gun and combat sound effects, improvements to vehicle audio. I didn't even know that was possible, the vehicles sound amazing. Various sound fixes, and Panam will no longer sound as if she's in a holo call when talking to her about events from Phantom Liberty in person. That's a very interesting one. In terms of visual changes, there have been various lighting improvements around the city. They've improved the visuals of Karoshi scanner highlights. They've changed the appearance of the black wall in transmission to match its appearance in Phantom Liberty. They've fixed an issue where there could be a cigarette permanently attached to V's hand. Thank the heavens for that one. That one was so annoying. Flames will now be properly aligned with exhaust pipes on the Yaiba Kusanagi. Electroshock VFX released by Microgenerator will now have VFX when playing without Phantom Liberty, and they fixed some instances where the animations after installing Cyberware or Ripperdocs would not trigger. Okay, let's move on to the UI. So they've added the option to mark weapons as favorites so that selling, disassembling, or dropping them is locked. They've also changed how resolution scaling modes are presented in graphics settings. They've added a toggle to switch between DLSS Super Resolution, AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2.1, and Intel Xe Super Sampling 1.2. Depending on your selection, you can customize other options, for example, enable dynamic resolution scaling. They've also added a tooltip describing how to gain XP in each skill in the skill progression panel, and attempting to attack or shoot in areas where combat is disabled will now display an action blocked pop-up on your HUD. Moving on to PC specific fixes, and the ray tracing overdrive mode has exited the preview status and will include several image quality improvements. They're introducing Restir GI, which will further improve path trace lighting quality in RT overdrive mode, especially darker areas with no impact on performance, and minimizes ghosting. DLSS ray reconstruction is now available in RT Ultra and other RT modes with RT reflections enabled. They've fixed an issue where V's and NPC's skin could have a metallic-like effect when ray tracing was enabled. They fixed an issue where some characters' hair didn't cast shadows when ray tracing was enabled, and they've added support for DualSense controllers, which is really enticing me to probably pick one of those up, just for those adaptive triggers. And they've added support for Samsung HDR10 Plus gaming for NVIDIA GPUs. To enable this feature, your display has to support the technology and have the game mode enabled. This toggle can be found in Settings in the Video tab. In terms of console-specific fixes, on Xbox they've fixed an issue where a save failed insufficient space pop-up would appear when trying to save despite not reaching the save limit, and a new error message that will appear when Phantom Liberty is installed on an unsupported drive. We do have some more miscellaneous additions here, and they have fixed a crash occurring when trying to reach the second sniper and play it safe. It will now be possible to properly interact with the radio in V's apartment in Mega Building H10. They fixed an issue where there was still some dead zone after setting the inner dead zone on a controller to 0, and they've of course added more secrets to be discovered by players in Night City. So yes, patch 2.1 is absolutely massive. It will be released on December 5th at 12 PM CET, that is 6 AM MST, 8 AM EST I believe, so do check that out. There's a lot going on December 5th, GTA trailer, Halo Infinite is fixing some desync issues, and of course Cyberpunk patch 2.1. So if you are watching this in the future and you have been playing it, let me know your comments, let me know your thoughts. If you're excited about this, I want to hear about it in the comments as well, so let me know those as well, and I will catch you guys in the next video.